Hello everyone. Welcome to the YouTube Mile Builders Thursday Night General Hangout. Thursday's hangouts are for the general discussion on mile railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. Thursday's hangouts are the proud sponsor of the Tuesday night presentations, the YouTube Mile Builders, eMag, and the YouTube Mile Builders live show. I want to say thanks for everybody joining in tonight's show. And here's your host for the night, Johnny Reb of Southeast Rails. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Thursday Night General Talk Show, or Johnny's Mile Railroad Talk Show. Yeah, the storm's kind of got me going around a little bit. Just got my internet back up a few hours ago. Thought I was going to have to get Andy to run the show for me, and or either Andy and Bill or Bill and Barry, somebody. But the internet came up, so I'm back. Yeah, thank you, Robert. We got Cabana Bob over here, and Ari. Yeah, he's over here in the chat too. Got Chris and AJ up here in the panel, and Andy. Lloyd was here. He'll be back. Well, I ain't caught up with everything yet. Like I said, the internet's been down, so I got to do a little catching up on videos and stuff from people. Hey Marcus, how you doing? I know that. Yeah, the other night you chimed in on a test run of a show. That was all that was a test run on that new show. We're just making sure everything was working right. That's the reason why it was so short. We try not to have shows that short, you know. But hey Mark, how you doing? But I tell you what, Marcus, you know, if you got a webcam or you want to join in on the panel, be glad to have you here. Sometime we do have nightly chats too, so if you want to jump in on a nightly chat, get your feet wet, see how it works, join in, we'll be glad to have you. Get Bob in here too. Get him to come in on the nightly chats with us. We've gotten a few new people coming in, trying it out. They seem to like it. Oh, okay. Marcus is at work, so can't talk too loud, so boss won't catch you.
We won't tell anybody, Marcus.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think AJ stepped out of the room for a minute.
I is here.
Oh, you's there?
Yeah, I am nursing my back, which is killing me from everything I've been doing the last few days.
That's what bench work does to you. Reason number 747, I'm committed to foam.
I thought you were up to 780.
Yeah, I know. I got to the back part, then I bought up to 780 something. I got 800 something now. I just happened to be 747.
I just thought maybe you were doing Kentucky math.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a little unique.
Yeah. You're working toward 1001, and then you're going to publish the book?
Possibly.
Well, we got a guy in here, Dave P. Says hi. You're gonna have to help me out on this one, Chris.
Okay.
Latrobe, Pennsylvania.
Latrobe.
Got another
The home of Rolling Rock.
Yeah, so we got us another PA here, huh?
Huh? We all know Pennsylvania is the greatest state. I mean, it's a keystone state.
Hey Jerry, how you doing?
I'm sorry, we're a Commonwealth.
right, AJ. I've been out of it. I see you've been doing some progress here. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Of course.
I thought you would.
All right. Basically, I'm using a pair of bookcases from Walmart that I rebuilt so that they wouldn't fall apart when you sneeze at them. And they're the foundation for, it's 105 inches long. It's what, about 35 cars in N scale?
Yeah.
19 HO, 14 O.
Something like that.
2 decks. Managed to build them without killing myself. And I'm using a bunch of 2x-somethings on the wall to serve as extra supports so that I don't have to try finding the studs where they need to be.
So you got a shelf unit on either side and a support coming up from that shelf unit that you're hanging the top deck off from.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the uprights are screwed into the wall at several locations. Still haven't decided whether or not I'm going to cut through the wall into the closet.
Yeah, I don't think you want to do that in an apartment.
It's tough with rental property, although I'll tell you what I have done is take what they call an old work box. And it's just like any electrical box you put in the wall, it has nails on it. A work box has wings that flip out and they pop behind the sheetrock. Most people are familiar with them. But you can get one that's designed for low voltage, like what we put our network wires in. It has no back in it. All it is a frame. You can take and cut a 2-inch by 3.5-inch hole. That's big enough for HO scale equipment, especially for N scale equipment, to get through the hole. Put it on work box, sheath in it so your sheetrock won't get broke out. When you leave, put a blank over it.
Smart.
Blank cover, yeah.
Yep, just a blank cover. So it's totally doable without being massively destructive. Now, I've done that so I could chase HDMI wires and things like that at homes before. But, so, doable.
That's encouraging. It's basically, I just built flat frames and linked it all together.
Hey, there you go.
It's the easiest way to do it with just 2 hands and nobody to help. So,
But it's a thin shelf as well, so a relatively thin deck, and for the size and layout, L girders completely unnecessary. Did you build a box around the top of the shelves, shelving unit?
yes.
I thought you did.
The 1x4 sits down an inch over the top, and there's an inner box that sits on the edge of the top, made of 1x3. So that's how I locked everything together.
Shelf units are the ticket. I mean, not only are they nearly the right size for multi-deck layout for the lower deck, but shelf space is at such a premium at anybody's house, but especially a model railroader or aka pack rat. Our shelf space is always a problem. I've been thinking about using cabinet units, buying the pre-built fixed size cabinet units to build my lower deck on, because that hurt.
I considered that. There's a habitat reuse store here in town.
Yeah, salvage places. I like those.
But I did the math, and I could actually get what I did here with the lumber and everything cheaper than if I had bought a used cabinet.
But I'd still need lumber. It would just, it basically replaces the legs. So it's a very expensive leg, but you need the shelf anyway. So
True.
better use of space. It's just a better design. It's not necessarily the cheapest way to do it, especially on a small layout like that. I think the Professor Kleisler, I think he's one who's talked about using shelf IKEA, in his case, shelf units to build on top of before. It seems like he was a fellow, but that's becoming quite popular, especially with European modelers that build these, micro layouts or anything, smaller layouts in general. A couple IKEA shelves and you got a layout.
Indeed.
And I think bench work is the single the thing that turns more people off, or the thing that is the barrier to entry. It is the barrier to entry. It is so many people who want to be model railroaders, who are armchair model railroaders, don't become model railroaders because of the barrier to entry of bench work. We got that simpler. You can buy pre-built bench work, but it's expensive. But if we would accept that there are simpler ways to do it, from IKEA shelves to foam core modules like you built, the professor has built, to my styrofoam techniques, there's a plethora of choices out there. But any of those choices that lower people's fear of having to, to saw, and a lot of people have apartments in smaller places, getting out a saw in the hallway of the 4th floor apartment is going to be a problem.
Yeah. Thankfully, the cable is not long enough for me to show what my kitchen looks like right now. But that's basically where I have the miter source set up, and there's sawdust everywhere.
Yeah. But you don't have to do that much necessarily if you're just using a little bit of wood framing like you're doing. You only have a few chops. Whereas if you're doing a massive build out like Troy did, or some of those guys that are Elgirder, nothing against that approach at all if you have the resources and facilities and stuff to do it. But if you live in an apartment, that's difficult. Not only is it difficult to move, it's just difficult to construct. And I think a lot of people, being afraid of doing it, would hold off for years building a layout, maybe never build a layout, because of having to put that wood together.
Yeah. If you're like an apartment modeler in, say, New York City, you don't have a car usually. So it's, how do you get 8-foot lumber home on the subway or on the bus?
Very carefully.
Yeah, in New York, that was my biggest obstacle. Once I got a car here, it was, yeah, okay, let's see how much I can fit into this car. Yeah. Turns out the interior is about 8 feet 3 inches.
Really, my car, I can't put like styrofoam in my car. It's just a 4-door car. I can carry 8-foot like 1x4s or something, but styrofoam is difficult, and I'm not really ready to strap stuff on the roof of my. I mean, I am in Kentucky, but I'm not really ready to strap it on the roof like many people would. So that's a little bit of a pain point. Yeah. If I bought 2 foot wide, it'd be easier. But Jerry Ashley said that was a good point. He got tired of waiting for with a house attached to it. So I told my wife, the old adage, we're building a house, or we're building a basement with a very thick roof for the wife to live in. And I'll tell eBay, I've said that to Chris, if you can find a wall that'll hold still long enough, you can build a shelf. Even just build a 3-foot module, or build a 1 foot by 4 or 5 foot piece and put it up on the wall. If you're just building, if you're progressing, if you're making anything, if nothing else, the skill sets that you're picking up, the knowledge you're getting that you can't get. And I love reading, I love the internet, I love YouTube, I love this community, but there is a certain amount of knowledge that is only attained by doing.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah, I'm hoping to get away with shelving for most of my layout.
You will, for everything but Steamtown.
Yeah.
There's no getting around.
No, in my other facilities too. It's gonna have to be benched, like where my steel mill's going, stuff like that.
Yeah, Ari made a few points. He says folding tables, hollow core doors, and sawhorses. And then he said, friends are hiring a carpenter, and people picked on me for a long time over my. Actually, forget for a long time. People still pick on me and will pick on me for a long time over my tripods and stuff. But just building it, and this is a folding table I'm on now. Anything that lets you progress. No, a lot of those methods aren't great for the permanent application. Tripods are just for me designing with, and you got to separate what is permanent from what you are designing with. But I think hollow core doors are one of the least, or one of the most underutilized resources we have us as modelers, because you just about can't build something as solid as they are for the size and the thickness. They're near perfectly true and square, and they're $20. So a hollow core door is a great medium to build a shelf layout on.
Yeah, let's see here. A couple of them have let me back this thing up. Michael's back. Get to Mike in just a moment here. Yeah. Michael said, hey guys, long time since we talked. If you remember, I had the 1,400 square foot layout. Now it goes behind and through my steps. When I'm done, it's going to be about 1,800 square feet.
That's nice.
He also has a question. The question is, I have a lot of people say that running long trains is unrealistic. That depends on how long a train you're talking about, too.
And what you're modeling. And what I argue is that it has to do with what you're modeling and what... It's not the size of the room. It's about how your track play was designed. With my design and such, I have a 15-foot wall. There's a spot I can stay in that I can watch a train stretch out. Much of it I can't, but in this place I can. If the train is not 25-ish cars long, it doesn't feel right to me to have a big, heavy, articulated steam on the front, big, heavy, articulated shoving or pushing. If the train's not sublink, and I would favor 40 cars or, 40, 45 cars, at a certain point it becomes more, what do they call it? Diminishing returns. Running 100-car trains is not necessary to give you the effect and feeling of running a long train, and it's very complicated from a power and track and space constraint to run them that long. But running 8-car trains just doesn't feel like a big, long train of hoppers to me. But it's all about what you're modeling, too. If you're running a logging line, 3-car trains is totally it.
Well, I think on Michael's being 1,400, fixing to be 1,800, probably for him, 25 to maybe 30 should be a good-looking train on that layout.
Yeah, it's total, and it has a lot more to do, in my opinion, it has a lot more to do with how the curvature is and stuff. So if you have really tight curves, really like 22, 24-inch radius or lower, long trains become really difficult. I wanted long trains, so I planned for that. So I've got 32 to 36-inch minimum radius, depending. Right now, everything's a 34, but I will have some, like my Helix is a 29. So I have to take that into consideration. It has a lot more, in my opinion, less to do with the size of the room within a certain constraint. If you're in an 8x8 room, then no, but it has more to do with how big your viewing angles are.
Yeah, he said he's doing coal hauling.
Me too. And era means a lot. How long are the cars? If you're modeling a modern coal hauling line with top gods, those are fairly large. Whereas a lot of my hoppers are 2-bays, 34-footers. So you can get away with a few less. You could get away with shorter trains, but they still have 30 cars because you're seeing a bunch of cars. Just the fact that they're a little shorter, the eye's not, the human brain's not calculating the difference in the length of a car per se. But I think it has to do with viewing angles. Yeah. How far can you see in one shot?
How you doing, Ron Perry?
It also has to do with how much you really care.
No question.
Because if you're not prototypical or you don't really care about being that prototypical,
then what looks cool?
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. It matters. See, I am, a little prototypical.
Well, sure, and I'm not saying anything against that, because me too, but
I can't do the prototypical.
Just because somebody says to you, well, it doesn't look right, or that's not prototypical, you as a person has to decide whether you really care about that, or if you don't care about it. And if you don't care about it, then it's your layout, and you ultimately run how many cars you want behind your engine.
Well, it's like Miles says, and a lot of us say, Miles has a better explanation of this than possibly anybody. This is all an illusion. It's all an illusion. Frank Ellison, all those years ago, back in the 50s or 40s, 50s, when he was designing some of the first pseudo-operational model railroads, treated it like the layout was the stage, the train was the actors, that kind of thing. And he come at it from that philosophy. It is an illusion. What does it take? How long of a train does it take for the illusion to feel filled? You know, if you're running a logging line, 3 or 4 cars does it. Even if the prototype runs 7 or 8, that looks like a reasonable trade. But if, in my case, they run 60, 80 car trades. So if the locomotives are so close together that you see them, and there's just a couple of houses along the right-of-way between them, that's not plausible. So it has to reach a certain length. And I know a lot of people who say anything more than 12, 14 cars is just too difficult to try to pull off. And in a space, that's true.
And it is true when they say, you know, if you're modeling and, you know, your train reaches back to the next town. Well, in some cases, towns are pretty close together where that can occur. But when your train is running and your car stretched 15 miles to scale back to another town, the train's too long.
It is. And that's a common problem. The caboose is in the town that you're starting to switch off the front of the next one.
But where I live, towns are very close on top of each other. So if they're running a bigger intermodal train or whatever, your cars, if you're running, your engine could be in the next town over, but some of your cars could still be in the next town over. So really, it all like you said, it all depends on what you're modeling, how you're modeling it, where you're modeling. That all plays a factor, and then the factor also comes in: do you really care, or because you're just doing it to have fun, or you running ops?
Yeah, that's what Ron Boyce has put up here. He said, if it looks good to you, it don't matter what others think.
Yep. If the illusion holds up, if you feel like the illusion is being held up, then you're a success. And I've said that before, as picky as anybody could be. If at the end of the day, this is our entertainment, this is our hobby. If you were entertained by it at the end of the day, then you were a success. And there are some tricks you can do to stop the caboose from ending up in the previous town. Like, I hate long stacks of helixes unless it's necessary. Sometimes it is. It's, you know, choose your own adventure in model railroading and pick your compromise because you're going to make one. Which one are you going to make?
What do you mean you're going to make one? You're going to make about 20 of them.
Oh, you better believe it.
More.
So what I've done is I'm doing multiple helixes, but they're 1 or 2 turns, and I've designed the track plan so that those helixes are between towns in areas that aren't that interesting, scenically, etc. And there will be no time that one town to the next town that the train hasn't completely left the other before it gets to the other, because the helix basically works like a spring or whatever, or the train works like a spring. The helix compresses the whole train up, and then it starts coming back out of the other town once it's completely clear of the other seat. So a single turn helix, even if you don't need it for elevation change, adds running time, adds running length, and can make sure that your trains don't overlap scenically.
Now my helix gives me distance.
Yeah. Sparky 107, his thought on it is I think 20 cars, new age modern 30 cars, after that you tend to lose interest in watching it go by.
That's a thing too. There is definitely too long, but it's all about what you're going for, you know. Bill Track Planner says 12, 14, 16 cars, that's what he likes. That's his preference, that's what he designs for. Chris Hiley has designed his layout to run 100-car trains. That's what but his style's designed for that. He's not interested in the switching. He's interested in moving road freight over the hill and long trains. And he has scenes where the train has an S-curve system on one side where the train goes back and forth, and you can see it across the distance. And it was like that in the real world. So his viewing angle is so long and so broad that you could see a 60, 80-car train stretch out. It wouldn't be what I would go for, but I'm totally in love with what he's doing.
Yeah, Michael said, cool. Thanks, guys. All right, Marcus, come on, jump in here on this chat. We got to get you in the swing of things.
Another idea in that train length thing, I think it was John Armstrong that talked about thinking about your train length in terms of selective compression. You know, how much do you shrink a building whenever you model a large industry? You know, whenever you're running trains, your trains are selectively compressed. Should be to about the same percentage that maybe you would anything else that you would build on your layout.
I
That makes sense.
agree with that. I tend to favor selective selection over selective compression. So in my case, I eliminate more things, but my trees are roughly the scale size they should be. My curves are sharper than they should be, but I've tried to compress much less than people typically do. And what I've chose to do is model less of the town, but model the buildings closer to real size. So it does have the, I think we have taken selective compression too far. We build trees that are the size of a bush and buildings that could never justify the freight or the job that they should be doing. They could never justify a railroad connection, or, you know, they sure couldn't, you know, populate a boxcar with boxes if the building's the size of a small industry. But selective compression is a reality. You're going to do it. I don't care if you had a gymnasium. It's got to compress.
And
Right.
it comes down to being dynamic. So what works on your layout may not work on my layout. What works on Ralph's layout may not work on your layout. You know what I mean? You really have to sit down.
You okay, Ralph?
That hurt clear over here.
Ralph.
I think Ralph just had an earthquake.
Yeah, I think he tripped over his camera because he had it sitting off on the side. Yo, Ralph, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Hurt pride?
We're dispatching a hospital train.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to think about that after what you did for us on the YTMB live truck. All right, while I got this, Timothy Wyman said, Andy, Appalachia has towns right on top of each other, and some towns are even wrapped around mountains and spread out for single towns.
Typically speaking, you can go back way in time. The west of the United States was settled, for the most part, after faster and broader means of transportation were available, like the railroad and ocean liners, and horse travel was common, and later the automobile. The towns tend to be fairly disparate or separated. Appalachia and the eastern United States tends to follow the same philosophy as what Europe did as it was civilized thousands of years ago. Each town was roughly the distance that a person could walk in a day, there and back again, for the surrounding area. So each town tended to be one very long day's travel away, but you couldn't go from one town to the other town and then back in the same day typically. But the reason being is that everybody who lived around that town and farmed it had to be able to go to the town and back in a day. If that didn't happen, if it was too far, then other small towns sprung up. In Appalachia, that proved to be true too. There's actually a really good video. I think it's a Vox Media video, but one of those that explains the history of town just spacing and ideal spacing and all that. It's really intelligent, really good. But in Appalachia, 10 to 15 miles between towns is quite common. But you got to remember, at HO scale, that's still 600 to 900 running feet of track. So doing it exactly to scale, probably not possible, but it is very well suited to reasonable. You can selectively compress anything, but you quite reasonable selective compression.
Yeah, Dan said he's planning on running 25 to 30 car trains. That's what his prototype ran on the line. So.
Yeah, and I think selective compression is kind of the name of the game. I mean, they run 60 to 80 cars on mine. I'm running 25, 30. I'm about a third. And my line is about a third. I'm modeling 20-ish miles of my of an area. I modeled a very small area back to the selective selection versus selective compression ideals. I'm modeling the, two towns that are roughly 20 miles apart. And I'm doing it in roughly 6 scale miles, roughly a third. However, what I've chose to do is focus on key areas that I've tried to do a better job of on each of the 4 decks, with the areas between those decks where that helix is, representing several miles of unmodeled open mainline. I know where Wheelwright is, Tim. Yep. Kentucky's all like that. Appalachia's all like that. The towns are really close together. But they're still typically to where the end of a trade would not still be in the previous town as you stop. But there's a lot of good ways to get around that. Like Tony Custer's LDE, layout design elements, the idea of modeling this block and doing it accurately, and then modeling another block, and as a separate unto itself faithful recreation of something, and not worried as much about modeling the area in between. And that's why I think a single turn of color.
Yeah. Hang on. Who's got the music playing?
When you're finished vacuuming, would you
Ron.
cleaning up my kitchen?
Coming from Ron, even though now he's okay.
I think my wife is vacuuming upstairs right above my head.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the best times for that sometimes.
You better yell up there at her and say, "Hey, we're on the show live here."
Don't do that, Ron. Don't fall for that.
Then she'll be vacuuming right behind me.
Is she mad at you?
I think oblivious would be a better word.
Isn't that when they're back this time of night, when they're angry about something?
My wife is a night owl. She always vacuums when everybody else has gone to bed, just about.
Less likely for somebody to wander into the clean room and make a mess of it immediately afterwards.
Well, let's jump over here and see what Lloyd's doing. What you got going on there, Lloyd?
Well, right now I'm just doing bumpers while my building it should be dry by now.
Oh yeah, I see what you're doing there. I was curious about those blocks, but yeah, build your.
That's my front of the hotel.
Very nice.
And on this side here, I've got. Well, I don't know if you could see this image. Whatever is in red, that's where I'm going to be putting lights. So I'm just preparing my rooms that will basically, so here I've got one room that's going to be lit. Those two here are going to be lit. This one here is also going to be lit. And the workshop down here is going to be lit. So I've got this ready. I've got my floors ready that are going to just sit there. And I also did slots, as you can see here, where I'm going to fit. Hold on. Where are my lights? Oh, here we go. So
you're going to use those exterior kind of lights on the roof inside the building?
Yeah, because we're not going to see them anyway.
No matter.
So this is how it's going to look. Well, you can see it?
Yeah.
So I've got my light, and then I'm going to put in the floor. I'm just going to have to finish the floors. I'm not going to put carpet, but I'm probably going to put some type of design on the floor, so when the drapes are for the rooms that the drapes are going to be open, you'll be able to see like the floor. I don't know if I'm going to do a bed or just take a picture and curve it inside the room.
So there is some 3D printed furniture ways that you can buy. Sometimes that stuff, a lot of times, most of the time probably, that stuff's too expensive. But there's a guy on Shapeways. You can find it, or I'll give you a link to the guy that I know of. And he's got, you can buy a whole suite of bedroom stuff, quite a few pieces for, $10 or less on Shapeways. You can buy a few of those to make the shipping worthwhile and put actual beds in there. Although honestly, a block of wood with Ralph has some really good, and you can find them online too, but some really good patterns that you can print out on paper like rugs patterns that look like quilts as well. And if you just took a block and sanded the edges off so it's a little rough, and wrinkle up a little bit of paper when you put it on the bed, do something to recreate pillows, you'd have a bed, and it'd cost you, you know, a little block of balsa, something printed off a printer.
Yeah, I already went on the internet, found some pictures that I'll be gluing on some stuff. See, I like my I like how this turned out, Andy. That's one of the walls.
Now I
just
see,
need,
and you got the various discoloration. How'd you get it?
oh, what I did is I diluted some paint, 50-50 with what was it, 90% alcohol.
Yep. Yep.
And then I did reduce, maybe at instead of 50-50 I went 25-75, and so it kind of gave different colors or shades if you want, but
Yeah,
then I'm going to also
one color of red.
yeah, it's only one color.
That looks more like a 76-24 to me, Lloyd.
I did about the same thing. I use like 3 or 4 different colors of red, and I kind of, and they're heavily diluted, and I kind of mixed and matched them on my sponge as I stamped them on. So I got even some discoloration in my sponge, but it wasn't like blocky or whatever. Yours looks great though. And there's no argument with success, they say.
Yeah. Then of course there's the weathering that will come once everything is built. Remember we talked about painting once the building was completed. As you can see, my building is not even completed, and I've painted every pieces, like this one.
Yep, I got my surface done, but I haven't painted the windows on this one. But on the brick, I got all the windows done now as well. And then I got all the rest of the building put together. And don't do it all before the next Fine Skill show where we do some, well, when you get back to Mexico and we come back to plastic, at least we've got to talk about your stuff on that show, because this is, I like that color you did for the windows too, that red color. That's a good choice.
It's the same color as the bricks. But I found at first I started on, here. When I was painting the windows, I was painting them like, I had no problems going around the windows, but when I started painting like the inside of the window sill, if you want, I was getting some on the gray. Then I found out that if I painted it from the back, I would never touch the gray.
Okay. How'd you cut? You still got to cut in the front though a little bit. That's the thing that's rough about these DPM kits. You know, on most every kit, the windows can be painted separate, applied. But
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I told Mauler Man Mike when he was doing his DPM hotel kit, and he was painting with that. But the brush he was using was a square brush, and I told him to take the brush and cut it off at an angle, and cut it so that the bristles are kind of short, so it doesn't flex as much. And that should make it a little bit easier to get in there.
So like,
I bought a special brush.
How much?
I bought a brush that the tip is very pointy.
Yeah, but you still got the round bristles in there, so if you just take a flat brush and then cut it down about half the length, and then cut it at a sharp angle from one side to the other, just like the brush you use when you're painting windows on a house, they have an angle on those so that you can cut right up in very close. Because once you learn how to do that, you get the brush up there, you start coming down. When you get near the end or right at the corner, you start rolling the brush out, you know, to get your paint right up in there. But let's see, there's Ari said, I love those DPM malls. I wish they would come up with new ones. Well, Ari, maybe y'all drop them an email and let them know that you kind of like to see something a little different.
They do have pretty good selection between and DPM got they're the ones. DPM's the ones got bought by Woodland Scenics, right?
Woodland Scenics, yeah, they own them.
Yeah, Woodland Scenics bought DPM. So they have an interest, and they have a pretty broad selection, and especially if you take their parts and treat them like, I treat every kit like a box of parts. I have no faithful loyalty to building it the way they say. So some of those, like the, the 4 or 5 buildings you get in the street scene, what are those called?
Yeah, Merchants Row.
Yes, they got like 4 or 5 of those. So if you took a few of those and kind of chopped them up and done something unique to them, and that's what I was saying about the building Ralph's working on. So many of the DPM, Woodland Scenic, Cornerstone, Walther's Cornerstone buildings, they're good, they're great, and they've been used a lot. So it's easy to recognize them. So doing some work to them, much like what Ralph's done to that building he's been working on lately. Most people would never see that Cornerstone building in what he's done because of the massive modification.
All right, well, I got a new play toy. I'm going to show off a piece of paper here with it because it's somewhere at the workbench right now. But it's called a Magna board. Bought one long years ago, except the one I bought is about 6 feet long, used for building airplanes, RCs and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They use magnets with it. Let me get this up. But it should be good when you're doing buildings and keeping your walls square.
Oh, yeah, I see those.
Yeah, I just got one about a month or so ago.
Yeah, this one here came from...
Is that flat or is that like a box?
No, it's flat. They don't have any edges.
It's like the gluing jig we've talked about in the past, but a flat piece.
Yeah, this is just a flat piece of sheet metal. They galvanized
Yeah, I've seen those.
To keep it from rusting. This one came from Easy Build Models. They sell airplane models, the rubber power ones. But yeah, it should help out.
has something like that too. I think they actually sell it in their shipbuilding area of stuff, but they carry one also. I don't have one, but I've seen them.
Yeah, you got the one that's got the edges on it, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, I've got the square one, the box. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, yours is
And
what,
working
about
at
12?
Scale, it's not much that I can't do inside of it. So
Yeah, with N scale, because that one's about what, a 12-inch square?
Yeah.
Inside, it's like 10 3/4 or something like that square.
Yeah, because
I think it was.
This one I got is 12 inches wide, and I think it's like 16 inches long, something like that, 16, 18 inches long.
And you said you got that where? Easy Build Models?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just Googled the name of the board, and they came right up with having it. They're nice. They have a nice picture.
The thing about this one is they got 2 different magnets on it. That big one I got, you had actually steel plates that you bolted to each side of the magnet, so they gave you an air gap around it. And but those magnets there, man, once you put it down on that board, it was hard to move or even get them to break loose, pick them up. This one here, the magnets, it comes with 20 on the board. That's their strong magnets, and they actually are real nice. They're pretty strong. But I did order what they call the minus magnet, which is half the magnetic strength of the regular magnets.
Gotcha.
So that was for lighter weight, more delicate parts. Try to keep.
So you got the one that's 12 by 24 then.
Is it B04? Mine's an 04.
Yeah, yep. It's 12 by 24 sheet galvanized.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And it's called. And what you search for? What'd you call it?
I put it in the chat, Andy.
Oh, You are the best.
You want if you have the I don't have the chat open, or else I would share it. But
I'll drop it for everybody.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Did I just lose my internet, or all of them lose their connection?
If you hear me, you're still got your connection.
Yeah, I can hear and see you.
Everybody else just dropped.
Huh. Alrighty. Hopefully they'll come back here pretty soon. Or you and I'll be taking turns table dancing, I guess.
Well, as long as nobody else is talking. I just wanted to thank the folks over at Weathering Solutions. I won their decals on Build Show last month in August. And I was just checking my mail, and they came in the mail today.
Oh, good. Yeah, I see them sitting there.
They look awesome.
Yeah.
So I've got a layout going, and now I have some decals to work on. I just need to work faster.
I wouldn't get too fast. Yeah.
Are we still on the air?
Yes, we are.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, this is, that's what I like about a pier. It's totally separate. So my stream is still going.
Okay.
Because Sparky 107, 107, he was just saying no table dancing. And a few others kind of chimed in agreeing with that. I may just do it anyway. How about a little bit of belly dancing?
Bow chicka bow wow.
Well, here comes Chris back.
yeah, I couldn't see you, Johnny. I figured maybe it was me, so I refreshed.
Yeah, because lost everybody except for me and AJ.
Can't lose me. I'm like a bad penny.
Trying to lose AJ is like trying to lose a bad habit.
Oh, here comes Andy.
Sounds like that should be a song. Here comes Andy.
It's a really sad country song, but you know.
I didn't say it was going to be a good song. I just said it should sound like a song.
I lost my wife. My dog committed suicide. But here comes Andy.
AJ. We don't want these guys over here in the chat start calling 911. Thinking you're in pain.
Somebody got a hold of you.
Sparky 107 said, great. Now I have that song stuck in my head.
You're welcome.
Here come Andy. Well, with him in Kentucky, we ought to do it kind of like, what's that song about this girl coming around the mountain?
She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. Yeah.
And you'll be coming around the mountain when he comes.
How are you going to place those, Ralph? How are you going to place them on the layout? All right. Okay.
Very carefully.
Yeah.
All right, Michael's got a question up here. He wants to add leasing units on his railroad. Can I buy them, or do I have to custom make?
Ralph, can you hear Johnny?
No, he's going.
I can't see Ralph.
Yeah, I can't. The only ones we can see is Chris and Andy.
Well, you guys need to refresh then, because he only can see myself and Mr. Crawford over there.
And then we won't have you guys on the live part either if you.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I could do a real quick refresh, see if that helps.
Oh, wait and see. Can you? How about now?
Your side.
Huh? All right. Well, while we're at it,
Hey, I can see everybody.
There we go. There we
Yeah.
got Johnny back.
Marcus has a question here.
Oh,
He
leasing
says,
power.
"Hey guys, wow, that was fast." All right, Marcus' question is, "Hey guys, I hate to do this. Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. But last week we were talking about adhesives, and I was needing the brand name of the phone safe adhesive that I can attach my phone board to my wood top. And let's see, I think you did get an answer down here somewheres. Ari's telling PL foam adhesives.
I like that.
Liquid nails for projects.
Liquid nails for projects, yeah.
I thought they quit making that.
No?
Liquid nails for projects?
Yeah, the actual full
No, you-
project. When you gotta get there's something else now.
When I picked
They
it
still
up,
carry it here.
they had both. They had the blue tube and they had the red tube.
'Cause I
Yeah, and
got
I just bought
kind of
those a
last
couple
time.
days ago.
Yeah,
Well,
but that's
you can-
heavy duty. Is that designed for styrofoam?
You can't use it on styrofoam.
That's heavy
Well,
duty. You can't use
All
it.
right, hang on. I got 6 people talking at one time.
Because the one for projects is designed specifically for insulating foam.
So's this.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to read it.
No, regular
No, we can't
liquid
read it.
nails styrofoam, you can use it if you pre-paint your styrofoam with a good thick latex paint. The problem, that's fine for laying track or adhering something else, but for adhering styrofoam to styrofoam, what you're actually doing then in that case is just adhering the paint to the paint.
Yep.
So I like the for projects. Now I like the way Kim Patterson does it with the spray foam. It's just labor intensive to stack all that weight on it, to get it down on a flat surface and all that other stuff. And I can stick any foam up when I'm working on a layout, just putting a few pieces of small foam up. I can stick some liquid nails for projects out with a caulk gun, so it's super easy to apply. And you know, your hands are going to get awful tired with a bottle or something. And any kind of glue like carpenter's glue or white glue doesn't dry because it can't get the moisture in the air and the air to it. They activate. So liquid nails for projects. And I just use a caulk gun, squeeze a little out, spray it in a little bit with something, stick it down, stick a skewer in it, and in a couple days, it's set up.
All right, so did y'all hear Marcus's question here about leasing units? I mean, not Marcus, but
Dan Ward.
no, it wasn't Dan. Oh, Michael. He wanted to add leasing units on his railroad. Can he buy them, or does he have to custom make them? Dan replied that in scale, the EMD leasing locos are hard to find, and Athearn did a few of them in HO. So you may have to just get you some engines and re-decal them.
The paint schemes are not notoriously that complicated. On most of the units I've seen, they're not that complicated.
Well, don't the class ones lease equipment to each other sometimes too?
Yeah, they call it pool. What I've always heard them call it, talking about pool power.
Okay,
So,
I got you.
Or run
but
through
yeah,
power.
so basically, you know, that used to not be complicated at all. 1950, you'll never see a locomotive, whether it in a W, a pool power service. Although in the early era, some of the companies would buy a few or lease a few locomotives off a nearby railroad to give them a shot, see if they love the particular type of locomotive. So there's a little bit of that. These days, it's really common for, you know, if locomotive's there, why should, you know, BNSF lose money on it just sitting in a yard when they can make, you know, a little bit of money off of CSX using it to pull a run?
Yeah, 'cause I know down here I was at the store last night, and there was one freight train came by, and it had 2 BNSF units on it, and that was all that was pulling it. And Brian was out there, and I told him, I said, that's kind of unusual, just see BNSF and no NS, because that's the Norfolk Southern line, without an NS engine on there. And he said, nah, here at least recently they've been renting a lot of other different locos, and they've been wrong. We've been seeing all kinds of stuff go by here during daytime now. Different locos.
They're doing a lot of that because they're real power short with the growth lately. With Interbog taking off a lot, with CSX kind of, losing some of their contracts out there, NS has been picking up some of that slack. And the way I understand it, from some of the forums online, so it's on the internet, it has to be true, but that NS is kind of power weak right now. And that's hard to say. They got a lot of equipment, so I don't know.
Yeah. But,
well, they have a lot of locomotives, but only about 70% of their fleet are DCC equipped. So,
yeah, about everyone I've seen had sound, though. At least they got that going for them.
Sounds good.
Here we go into the comedy hour part of the show.
Why not?
It was your idea to add it. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, let's get over here, because it looks like Ralph is doing something a little different from what we normally see. What do you got there, Ralph? I already know.
Doing a double crossover turnout. How's the picture?
Okay.
It's like half of a double crossover, but all right.
Well, you make 2 halves and then you join them together. Come on.
2 halves do make a whole. I get it.
Pay attention now, because we're going to ask questions.
Oh gosh, there's going to be 3 years later again.
Anyway, it's a whole bunch of right now I'm fiddling around with all these frog joints and you name it, and working on that, trying to get it to fit. So far I've got that much soldered. Before I go any further, I didn't want to solder anymore in case, like I did last night, I forgot to put, on the main rail, I forgot to take the what do they call it? They file it away.
Yeah, the base off of it.
So I actually did it while it was still like this.
While you're talking about that, Sparky 107 asks it a lot cheaper to build your own. So what are your Johnny's thoughts on call comparison?
On this thing here, this is what they call a number 5 double crossover. And when I investigated this, I was looking for the cheapest way to get turnouts, and buying them retail at the store was not the cheapest way because they wanted a fortune. At least that's what I thought. Now you get, if you want good quality, pre-manufactured turnouts, then you're going to pay about $30 a piece, 25, $30 a piece. I paid for this fixture. I paid
$150, $155, I think it is.
Yeah, something like that. Because this is a double crossover, I can actually do a single crossover instead of a double. I can do the single going the opposite direction, and I can do, and this is a number 5, so I can also do number 5 left and right turnouts, all from the same fixture. And the first few you make, the cost, I guess, would probably be maybe $20. And as you get better at it and get faster at it, you reduce your initial cost considerably, because the more you make, my buddy and I figured that we got the just to make a single turnout is down to about a half an hour and half an hour, 45 minutes. And we figure we can put them out for about $12 a piece. Nowhere can you buy even the cheap ones for $12.
What one is that, Ralph?
Single turnouts.
Actually,
No.
Ralph, a number 5 should be a little less because I'm doing number 6s left and rights for right at $12 on material, you know, complete.
Well, I'm guesstimating. So
Yeah.
that's the way we calculated it.
Yeah.
Error factor, because you're always going to make a mistake unless you're just sitting at the table and constantly pumping them out.
Yeah.
What
So
fixture is that, Ralph?
the number 5 double crossover.
And you could, like Ralph said, talking about that, you could make number 5 left or right. You could make a number 5 crossover left or right, and you can make number 5 double crossover, and then you also get a 12-ish, 12 and a half, whatever degree diamond as well.
I also have a number 6 curved turnout.
You do?
Yep.
Okay, we'll revisit that.
I also have a number 4 turnout.
Now, my biggest thing is, yes, I think they're definitely cheaper than buying a curved turnout from Walters. That's a $35, $40, $50 turnout possibly even. But I don't think at all that you could, it is cheaper. Yes, it does take time, but you're getting a turnout that's better quality than you can buy. You can't buy a turnout that is NMRA, meets the NMRA standards. Can't buy it.
When I investigated the price of a double crossover, it was going to cost me for a Shinohara double crossover $85.
Yeah.
So, as far as I'm concerned, I got the better deal right here, and that's what the turnout looks like when it's finished.
Oh, that's so pretty.
And
Very nice.
the part I'm working on right now is right in this area here.
Yeah,
All
you
the
can't-
little cogs and points. It's almost all double guardrail going through the crossover.
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah.
other thing you can make from this template. You can actually make a crossing at that, whatever that angle is. It looks like about a 12, 15 degree angle.
Which might work in a yard for you.
Yep.
Yeah, to answer Sparky's questions in a nutshell, with the Fast Tracks jig, you can build turnouts, crossovers, Ys, curved turnouts for less than half of what it costs you to buy retail. In fact, it'll probably be about third the cost of what a retail is.
Yep. Now, granted, buy the jig costs some money to buy it up front, but it's going to pay for itself. And I guess after you build your layout, you can possibly sell it. But
Even if you go havers, partners with somebody, which is what I did initially. The curved turnout belongs to my buddy. So when we bought our turnouts, we bought them all together. We got his curved, and he got a number 4 turnout. I have basically the number 5 turnout and the double crossover.
yeah, that's the way to do it if you could do that. But even still, I mean, my biggest argument in favor of it is you can't buy a turnout as good quality as you can make.
And also, there is one little catch on these Fast Track turnouts. They don't like plastic wheels. So if you got rolling stock with plastic wheels, you may have a little problem with that.
Really? Okay. I mean,
If you know you have the plastic wheels, you can allow for it. You just make your gaps in your guardrails a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Which really, you didn't take your modeling seriously enough to be building your own turnouts. The metal wheel sets are kind of a foregone conclusion for, at least for most of us.
Along with the tie plates, the bolt bars, and
Well, that's not a foregone conclusion for everybody. Not everybody as OCD as I am. Now, I think the bolt plates or fish plates, I mean, even if you use Flex Track, they're just so easy to put on. They're super easy. They're paper, and they make a difference. And you can totally see them. I'm not saying I'd do all the way around the layout or back in the back, but down in front, on the side of the rail, you can see they're super easy, super cheap, and it's made for buck. They're just a very cheap, easy, fast way to add some detail, and you can see it. Tie plates are a little over the top. I love it, but a little over top for most people.
Well, let's get over and check out what Ron's doing on his build in here. It's an N scale.
Yeah. Trying to figure out this second story. I mean, this top 2 stories. This hotel was kind of unusual. It was built in 1910 as a bank, and then 16 years later they sold it, and the guy who bought it added 2 stories onto the top of the building and turned it into a hotel. And so I thought I would give it a shot at the easy way. And so this is some of those DPM modular pieces I put together. I haven't decided if I like it at all yet, but at least it gives me a sense of what the thing's going to look like.
Pretty good to me.
Not color-wise. Well, the one thing I don't like is the seams in this, and I don't know if I can hide them very well or not. I'm going to be honest, what I might do, you know, I've got nothing to lose. I'm not the kind of guy who's afraid to mess something up. This, of course, these modular pieces are brick, and this was actually a stucco, this top couple of stories. So I'm thinking about taking some putty and just puttying the whole thing over, which would cover the seams and the brick and everything.
Like
and
spackle.
then sand it down.
Yeah.
If you do,
Well,
if you do putty it all,
Yeah.
consider some places where the putty has come off and expose the brick below.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. I like that.
Modeler Man Mike done stucco with something else though, like either Durham's water putty or there was something else he did, and he had a video of it, but I can't remember what it was. But he had one of the most convincing stuccos I may have ever seen. I don't know if it matters in scale, but you know, about texture, but it had texture.
Well, I've still got most of a tube of old Model Master red putty, which, if I could get it on there, sands really, really well.
Down the footrest, and then she was there, and she rolled out.
But I haven't just decided. Of course, I've got enough extras of these pieces. I've got some I can experiment on before I start actually doing it on this one here. And then this top is will actually be kind of almost a mustard yellow color. And at the time that I'm modeling this, it had kind of been left to run down, so it's pretty weathered. So I'm going to be weathering this whole thing. Now, since then, it's been all updated and cleaned up and remodeled and turned into luxury apartments. But that's post my era, so I think it'll look better dirty anyway.
Yeah.
Most things look better dirty.
Yeah, man.
I don't know if you can see that, kind of going for that color on it, this kind of mustard yellow color.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell colors on the
Yeah, I know it is.
cameras.
See, this is what the original, well, this is after it was updated, so it's all cleaned up. You see this upper level, and this is about the color it was, if you can see color at all.
No.
They added on, and then of course I'm going to have to basically build all this trim for the cornice and this piece here, but I'll just do that out of strip stock. And
Nice. That's a good looking. It's a good looking project. I love that original stuff.
Yeah, it's really, and you know, it sits 2 blocks from the railroad tracks. When Mr. Holt bought it to turn it into a hotel, it was right during the earliest days of the oil boom in Wichita Falls, and they needed hotel space for oil men coming in on the railroad to stay, and so he literally turned this office building into a hotel. So it's really kind of got a neat story to it too, and it's also got this. You can't see it really well in this picture, but it's got this neat old wooden sign that later was added neon to. It said Holt Hotel, and later it was changed to the Milner Hotel. So when I'm modeling it, it said Milner Hotel, and I've got Blairline Kit, one of their little rooftop signs that I'm going to do that with. And it's just kind of an iconic piece of the skyline in Wichita Falls that just kind of neat there.
Yeah, it's a distinctive building. It'd definitely be a building that anybody who knew the area would, you know, kind of bring it back to.
Absolutely, yeah. It's kind of one of those. It's like if you're model Kansas City, you got to have the old Western Auto Building. You know, it's just one of those things that you just got to have.
Oh yeah. Actually, Miles is built that Western Auto sign. And
is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's going to have the LEDs to where they actually, you know, in the arrow as it goes around the sign, have them light up and move around. Yeah. So.
And he built the sign, and he built it out of brass. So he soldered all those cross members to build that brass structure out of some 80 pieces of brass in O scale, and it's right up on top of one of those buildings that, you know, eye level or slightly above. And I wrote a basic Arduino sketch to do the idea, so I'd like to see him test that, maybe make a few changes to it, you know, as we need to. But to get that, because it has a weird effect that I could never even do at HO scale, I don't think, where after the lights go all the way around, it kind of sparkles. You know, lights that are in the side. So I've got a bit of code for that. So, and that's just something you can't do. I love the Miller Engineering signs. I think they're great. But there's a certain amount of stuff you just can't do with the photoluminescent film that you can do with independent LEDs.
Yeah, that sign, that area, Kansas City, is pretty near and dear to my childhood. It's kind of like going home.
Well, when he gets it all built, I guess hopefully he'll be doing videos on it.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, he's doing the stockyards and all that.
Well, how about the tour? And the tour of his layout for the Kansas City NMRA in 18.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That alone gives me good reason to head.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City's a must attend NMRA in my book, because I mean, it's such a sweet spot of you know, where it is geographically, etc. But it's you know, a central hub of modelers throughout the, you know, Midwest. There's a lot. There's like some 40 some, you know, large routinely operated model railroads with prototypical operation. It's large community of model railroads there. So going to that show in general is kind of a must see for anybody that's, you know, centrally in the United States. And we've got like Martin from Australia, he's coming over for it. And then we've got our, you know, our friends, you know, here that, you know, Miles, you know, visiting his layout person. That's a must do for me. I, of course, wouldn't miss that for the world.
Yeah, I think Laurie McLean is coming with them too. There's a group of Australians there coming, or several of them.
Yeah, I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think they were talking about him doing a clinic at that. On his animation stuff. I think he's doing a clinic for the NMRA in 18.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So we need to get to Kansas City early so that we can get a private tour.
Or leave late.
I think Miles going to be pretty tired after the show, I think.
Yeah, if it's like a typical, well, Rocky Horror is not a typical convention, but yeah, you're usually exhausted by the end of a convention.
Yeah, it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, no, Sparky, that's not Amherst that we're talking about. That's the Kansas City NMRA convention in 2018.
A bunch of us are coming to Amherst as well this year too, or at least some of us are. Actually, there's a lot of us because there's a lot of us that go to it every year. This year, Ralph and myself are also doing some clinics, so we'll be up there. And Ralph's doing a couple of clinics, and I'm doing a couple of clinics.
Yeah, Sparky was asking how far is Kansas City from Buffalo?
16 hours driving time, a couple hours flight.
Less than 16 because it's 16 from the. Well, yeah, I guess it would amount to 16
No,
I'll say it's ever been at 16.
if you can drive straight.
yeah, it's Spark. You don't have to be a member for the NMRA shows. I think you get a better deal on like the clinics and all that stuff. But the actual trade show part, but if you want to do clinics and stuff, you'll get some discounts, I think, as an NMRA member. But
You can get a I think it's a $9 6-month pass.
if
So
you've never been a member
before the
before,
show, you get yourself a 9-month or 6-month pass, and you're good to go to all their clinics.
yeah.
Yeah.
The little RPM, Tom's asking, I don't know about the Lissel RPM beat. I don't know which one that is. Other trade fest. I like this. I didn't normally do the St. Louis trade RPM beat, or I've done it a couple years ago. I missed it this year, and I'd like to go to that RPM in Naperville. That's kind of the, center of it all when it comes to RPM shows. I think they're some of the best. I know Bob normally goes to Trade Fest. For the Bob's Discount Man Cave. I don't know if any others of us typically do Trade Fest. Maybe Dwight, he's up there.
Train Fest is in Milwaukee, right?
Yeah. Oh, Naperville's listed. Okay, yeah. I want to go to Naperville. I haven't been to a Naperville RPM yet, and I may go next year, depending on when it lands in correlation to the national. Yeah, Naperville, Illinois, outside of Chicago. That's kind of one of the origins of the RPMs, one of the largest RPM shows there are. And MARPM, or MARPM, or whatever, is the Mid-Atlantic over on the East Coast. It's got a really big following of and a lot of the very renowned modelers going to MARPM or MAPM or whatever, MARPM, and then the St. Louis one is the one that's closest to me. And all the RPM shows have some common ingredients. They have the guys who do, like the guy who sells the track details, tie plates, and bolt plates, and all those little details. You're not going to see that guy probably at the big national shows because you don't have the following. Or like the proto throttle, that throttle that looks like a diesel backhead. All that stuff. Those things are typically shown off with RPM beats because the following is modelers who have a high OCD.
I'm watching this, working on the hotel here, and it just gave me a great idea. You can hide the upper stories inside the main hotel and have it rise up and down and up and down.
Servo.
All right, get me an Arduino. I'm gonna build it.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's a sure sign that the show has run long enough then.
We just hit rock bottom, is what he's trying to say.
Hey, my jokes get worse the later it gets.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, because hopefully we answered Marcus' question tonight, and Michael's gave them a good answer. I know Michael said we did. So anybody else got anything they want to bring up real quick?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Don't be so quick. Well, I don't know what Tim, what are you doing over there with that drill?
Hurting himself.
I don't think that's the bridge tool.
No, bridge is basically done. I just got to add the monofilament line to it and touch up paint. But I'm working on making the gantry crane for my for the overhead traveling crane for my engine house.
Oh, okay.
So I'm making wheel sets and axles
Yeah.
for the crane wreck. So I'm taking old plastic wheel sets and cutting the axles off of them, drilling them out, putting a piece of styrene in, and then putting the actual wheel on that, and then I'll glue a piece of styrene rod into the framework, and it'll actually hopefully allow it to roll down the crane ring.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That'll be good.
You know, I'm putting it on code 70 rail, HO scale code 70.
Yeah.
I tried cutting one out the other day by hand, and it wouldn't roll right. So I figured I'll use the junk plastic wheel sets that I have, ones that got the ends of the axles and stuff missing off of them. Drill them out, glue a piece of styrene to the other side, stick it in the drill, run it, sand them even, and go that way.
Yeah. All right. Marcus, he just jumped up here with another question, and before Andy can get on to this. One more question. I was thinking about getting my feet wet into scratch building. What tools should I think about getting to get started? Or if you guys have some videos you may suggest. Marcus, I tell you what, Mile Railroad Craftsman magazine, starting with the August issue, is coming out. They're doing a series on building craftsman kits. Also, Andy here has a fine scale show, and I would recommend that you go back to YouTube Mall Builders on YouTube and go to the Tuesday playlist and look at the beginning shows of Andy's show, because there they started out, because I always recommended start out with a small simple kit and watch Andy's videos there, because he gets into how to brace the kits if you're doing wood, so that when you paint it, it's not going to warp up on you. And you know, you always start with something simple, just like a little box house or something like that first, so that way you start learning how to do your bracing to keep the warpage to a very minimum, and to practice on how to paint it and then weather it. That way you don't have to have a big investment in the kit itself, because there are a lot of good kits out there for, you know, $25 to $50. Yeah, if you're going to be getting into that. Scratch building is, you know, could be a little less than that. There are videos out on YouTube that you can watch for scratch building. as far as tools, it's pretty much basic tools. You know, you use, well, you want to have some good razor saws.
If I can suggest one, John.
Yeah, X-Acto knives, and
If I can
Needle files.
yeah, Ralph's got a good one there if you're using styrene.
If you're going to use styrene, this is the tool to get. And if you can't find this, use your regular knife backwards.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff I'd recommend would be an HO scale ruler.
Unless you're working in
Unless, of course, you're doing in scale.
Unless you're doing another scale, but the scale ruler has, you know, multiple scales on it.
Most of them have multiple scales on them, yeah.
Good hobby square, miter box, compass, maybe a digital caliper, a good converter software to convert your scale measurements, actual inch measurements, over to HO scale measurements, or you're going to do thousandths of an inch, you know, or millimeters.
You're starting
I
to
think
scare
Woodland Scenics has a good app for that.
Yeah, I've got a good app for that. I don't have my phone on me right now. The Woodland Scenics has an app.
Yeah.
But the app I actually prefer is Scale Calculator. It's I don't know if it's on the iTunes store, but I picked it up off the Android store. But you can switch it around to where you can do either convert from a model measurement to inch measurement, or the other way around.
Yeah, Jerry also said a good metal ruler for cleaner cuts. So
Yeah.
I would suggest a 12-inch ruler, a 6-inch ruler also. But yes, a metal ruler does make it a lot easier if you're working, doesn't matter with styrene or balsa wood, you know, for making good straight cuts, clean cuts.
And have a separate one for cutting that's not
page. I could suggest a web page where it's called Scale Converter. Whatever scale you use, you just type in the length, and it will tell you in whatever scale you want. I don't know if you can share it, Johnny. I could always post a link.
Yeah, why don't you post a link in the tonight's post for the show? Post a link in the comments.
Oh, in the comments.
Yeah. That way you can go back to the post and look at the comments and get the link. What's that, Ron?
Sorry, Johnny.
I think Ron was going to say something.
Oh, it was me.
Oh, I don't know.
It was Ralph. If you're gonna post a link like that, don't put the www and spell out the dot, D-O-T.
Well, on the web, on the posting at the G Plus site, he can put in the comments. He don't have to do all that. He just put the full link there.
So where do you want me to post it?
On tonight's post for the show.
On
Gmail. Yeah.
G Plus.
Oh, okay. Not on the YouTube page.
Well,
not in the chat.
Yeah, you can. Well, once the show's up, you can post it in the comments on the video, on the recorded video. Once it gets posted.
The comments at the bottom. Yeah.
Do it in the live chat.
Yeah, put it in the comments. That way, when he goes back to the show, he just scroll down the comments and get the link. He can just click on the link and it'll take him straight to it. He won't have to retype it.
Which model scale calculator is that app? Because there's like a score of them on here.
On the back of your metal ruler, one of the suggestions I've seen was put a really thin piece of cork that will help you hold the ruler in place as you're drawing your lines. It'll help hold
like this. You can buy one. You buy one at Staples with it already on there for like a buck and a half. That holds your steel ruler up whenever you're marking with a pencil. It makes it a lot easier to get an accurate mark with a pencil. I'd also say make sure that whatever steel edge you're cutting with is not necessarily your scale ruler, because as you do that, number one, you'll actually score the edge of your one you cut along a little bit, and you'll also wear those marks off right along the edge, to the point where it makes it really hard to measure with it. So I always use a different one to cut with than I do to measure. I don't use my scale ruler to cut.
Yeah, just use a regular inch ruler.
Yeah, any kind of a good steel straight edge or aluminum straight edge.
Something else good to have is a very good pair of flush cuts. I actually bought a kit from Walmart. It was one in the jewelry section. Had a pair of flush cuts, angle pliers, needle nose pliers. Had a small round diamond tip file. A little pair of tweezers and a scoop in it. It was like 14 bucks. And I've cut rail with it, I've cut styrene with them, and they're holding up pretty good. Pin vise.
Yeah, for small drill bits.
And a regular drill possibly. Really don't see a whole lot of use for the drill, but some of the stuff I do, I use my drill quite a bit. And eventually you might upgrade, do something else that I've done. I've used a silhouette craft cutter to lay out and cut my lines on larger sheets.
Yeah, but he's just starting out, so yeah, you kind of need to keep the tools down to basics.
Yeah.
Lloyd just put the web page link up in the live chat. Hopefully he'll put it over in the posted part too, so because you can't see the chat once the show's over. But as long as you don't turn the show off, you can still copy it down. But chat will disappear once you close out the live.
Once you put it up, I'll post it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go back tomorrow if you don't mind and post it, because it'll be kind of late tonight when I get it posted.
There's several YouTube videos. That's how I got started. There's several guys. Vinny Vids is one of the guys that does a lot of them. There's several of them that talk about the tools to start scratch building. And it depends on who you get, on to what kind of list you'll get. But I try to go the cheap route sometimes, because I'm on a pretty tight budget with my model railroading. So Harbor Freight comes in handy. And Walmart.
Yeah, if you got a Hobby Lobby, you can print out their 40% off coupons. That'll help out too. They have a fair decent selection of balsa and birch plywood. Yeah, you can use for doing scratch building. Not too badly priced.
And a NMRA gauge is something else that's handy to have. The clearance gauge, especially if you're going to be doing buildings or structures on line side.
Yeah, you can get that in inch scale and HO.
Yeah, you get it in F, O. That one I think I paid $12 for it.
That's a must-have. You got to have an NMRA gauge.
Yeah.
You pay $12 for that?
I think so.
Oh, I just dropped Ralph's name and then MRA sent me a free one. No, just kidding.
Something else I suggest doing is signing up for the Micromark catalog and the Walters catalog if you aren't already signed up for those.
Walters catalog's like $17 or something.
Yeah,
Not catalog, but their flyer. Their monthly flyer.
A little monthly flyer.
Yeah. I just won't pay $17 for the magazine for the catalog when you get it online for free.
I was thinking it was $26.
All right, Sparky, we'll catch you later.
Here's Mark.
Good night, Sparky.
Alrighty, well, I'll tell you what, hopefully we've gotten a lot of questions answered there. Jerry goes, Johnny, I was supposed to start out small. Well, that's what everybody recommends. You know, kind of get your feet wet. The bigger kits cost bigger money.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I mean, I just started out basically the last year or so doing scratch builds. And this is one of my scratch builds. And that scratch and that scratch build. So, I mean, it depends on how much practice you want to put into it, how much time you want to put into it, and basically how much skill you already have in building things with your hands. Something fairly easy to start out with scratch building would be a fence. Just some styrene rod and tool for veil.
what for? Oh, veil for the fencing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry said nice. His projects are basically 14 inches by 30 inches for a distribution center.
Q&E did a good transload facility video on scratch building a transload facility. I'm trying to get his actual YouTube channel name.
That was Q&E?
Yeah, he's up in Quebec. I'm trying to find him. Let me go to my subscriptions. See if I can find him here.
Having any luck?
Not really. I'm trying to think.
Not hurting, is it?
All right. It's Q&E Railroad. Letter Q, the letter N, letter E, and then Railroad is his YouTube channel name. And I'll post, go over to the
all right. QNE Railroad, you said.
Yeah.
All right.
Did a transload, scratch build a transload facility.
Yeah.
And it looks a lot like what I'm doing for my engine repair facility. He started his about the same time I started mine.
Yeah. Yeah, Jerry said he got it. Thanks. All righty.
Just look up on YouTube, and you'll find a lot of guys that do it.
Yeah. Well, let me change over here, and we'll see about winding this one on up. I want to say thanks to everybody for joining in tonight. Welcome to all the new people that came in, Marcus, and I think we had a couple others. I can't remember their names right off, but then now you see why I'm bald. Just can't keep it in. But I'll get used to them as you become regulars, so be sure and keep tuning in. I want to say thank you to everybody on the panel for coming in tonight. We certainly did have a wide range of topics again. Answered a number of questions for everyone. So go to YouTubeModelBuilders.com. There you can check the schedule for the Tuesday and Wednesday shows, which is at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The Thursday and the Saturday once a month live show is at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. So be sure to check the schedule for those so you'll have your time zones right. And if you're working or happen to miss the show because of family events or whatever, never fear. We record these shows. And they are on the YouTube channel on YouTube, which is YouTube Model Builders. And they are listed in the playlist. So you could go in and find the show that you want to watch. If you're new, you can go scan through all the playlists and see what we've been doing in the past. Also, be sure and click on the e-mag there and sign up for a notification when the e-magazine comes out. And we should have one coming out about the middle of this month. JD and his team do a great job on that, putting out the magazine. So, with that said, let's see what we got left for this month. All right, we're not going to have a Saturday show this Saturday. That was canceled and was actually last night on Wednesday night. So, we have nothing until September the 26th. And that's going to be the Track Planner Presents. So, be sure and tune in on that. Of course, there will be the Thursday night show. That's every week. And that is at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. And you never know what kind of characters are going to be on the show. So just tune in and watch and see. And with that said, I hope everybody has a good weekend. I hope everyone that is affected by the storms that Irma that came through are being able to dig out and rebuild, and you're getting your power back on, and it's starting to work out. You're starting to see some kind of daylight. All right, we shall see you next Thursday night. Y'all have a good evening, a good weekend. Bye.